Here is your complete part 1, full story, written for a long emotional YouTube storytelling video. I've got somewhere to be, the billionaire wife said. The single dad never expected the truth. The rain was falling so hard over the streets of Boston, Massachusetts, that even the traffic seemed to stop breathing. Nathan Carter stood outside the hospital entrance with his 6-year-old daughter sleeping in his arms and a bag of unpaid bills inside his jacket. His wife had died 2 years earlier, his savings were gone, and the only thing keeping him alive was the small hand resting against his shoulder. That was the exact moment a black luxury car stopped beside him. The rear window lowered halfway, and a beautifully dressed woman looked at him with tired eyes before saying only 5 words. "I've got somewhere to be." Seconds later, the car drove away, leaving Nathan standing in the rain. What he never expected was that those 5 words would completely change his life. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, second chances, and unexpected miracles still exist in this world, please like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone you love, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories. Nathan Carter was 36 years old and lived in a small apartment on the south side of Boston. He worked 2 jobs. During the day, he repaired air conditioning units, and at night he cleaned office buildings. His daughter, Sophie, was the center of his world. Every morning he woke before sunrise, prepared breakfast, packed her school lunch, and walked her to school before starting work. The exhaustion showed in his face. Deep lines had formed around his eyes, and his hands had become rough from years of labor. His late wife, Rachel, had battled cancer for 3 years before losing her life. The medical debt remained long after the funeral. Nathan sold his truck, emptied his savings account, and eventually lost their family home. Yet he never complained. The only promise he made at Rachel's grave was that Sophie would never feel alone. One evening Sophie developed a severe fever. Nathan rushed her to the hospital, fearing the worst. Hours passed while doctors conducted tests. The fever eventually broke, but the hospital informed him that his insurance had expired. As he stepped outside carrying his sleeping daughter, the rain poured down. That was when the expensive black car stopped. Inside sat Victoria Hayes, one of the wealthiest women in Massachusetts. Newspapers regularly called her the Steel Queen because of her family's manufacturing empire. She wore a gray business suit and looked exhausted. Their eyes met only briefly. Nathan asked if she could spare a ride because his daughter was ill and no taxis were available. Victoria looked at her watch. "I've got somewhere to be," she said quietly. The car disappeared. Nathan walked 3 miles home carrying Sophie through the rain. He never forgot her face. The following months became harder. His landlord announced rent increases. His second job reduced his hours. Sophie's school informed him that tuition assistance had ended. Meanwhile, Victoria Hayes appeared constantly on television. She attended charity events, business conferences, and social galas. The newspapers described her as successful, powerful, and untouchable. What nobody knew was that Victoria's life was collapsing. Her husband had died years earlier. Her marriage had never been happy. The enormous company she inherited felt more like a prison than a blessing. She spent her days attending meetings and her nights alone in a mansion filled with silence. The destination she had rushed toward that rainy night had been a cemetery. Every year on the anniversary of her husband's death, she visited his grave before midnight. But even after reaching the cemetery, she could not forget the single father standing in the rain. Months later, Nathan accepted a temporary maintenance job inside Hayes Industries headquarters. The enormous glass building felt like another world. Employees wore expensive clothes and spoke about investments and vacations. Nathan repaired broken ventilation systems in the executive offices. One afternoon he entered a conference room and froze. Victoria Hayes sat at the end of the table. She recognized him instantly. For several seconds neither spoke. Nathan simply finished his work and prepared to leave. Victoria asked him to stay. She remembered the hospital parking lot. She remembered his daughter sleeping against his shoulder. She admitted that she had regretted driving away every day since that night. Nathan politely said that life had moved on. But Victoria could see the exhaustion in his face. Over the following weeks, their paths crossed several times. She learned about Sophie. She learned about Rachel's death. She discovered that Nathan worked nearly 18 hours a day. Nathan learned something surprising too. Behind the billionaire image was a lonely woman who ate dinner alone, visited a grave every year, and struggled to trust anyone around her. One evening, Victoria visited Nathan's apartment to return a lost tool he had left at the office. The apartment was tiny. The ceiling leaked. The furniture was old. Yet Sophie laughed while doing homework at the kitchen table. Nathan cooked dinner while helping his daughter study. For the first time in years, Victoria felt warmth inside a home. Money had purchased everything except that. She began visiting more often. Sophie grew attached to her. Nathan remained careful. The difference between their worlds felt impossible to overcome. People at the company started talking. Newspapers photographed Victoria leaving his neighborhood. Social media exploded with rumors. Board members warned her that associating with a maintenance worker would damage the company's image. She ignored them. Nathan, however, felt embarrassed. He believed he was becoming a burden to her reputation. One evening he told Victoria that people like him and people like her lived in different worlds. Victoria remained silent. Then she confessed something. On the night outside the hospital, she had not been rushing toward a business meeting or a party. She had been driving to her husband's grave. Every year she visited alone because she blamed herself for their unhappy marriage. When she saw Nathan holding his daughter, she suddenly realized what genuine love looked like. But fear made her drive away. She had spent months wishing she had stayed. Nathan finally understood the sadness behind her eyes. Winter arrived. Sophie's school announced a father-daughter event. Nathan worried because he could not afford the required clothes and supplies. Without telling him, Victoria arranged everything anonymously. At the event, Sophie proudly introduced Victoria as a friend. Nathan watched them laugh together. For the first time since Rachel's death, his heart began opening again. However, tragedy struck when Hayes Industries faced a financial scandal caused by corrupt executives. Investors panicked. The board demanded Victoria resign. News channels attacked her daily. The wealthy friends who once surrounded her disappeared. Only Nathan remained. He sat beside her during sleepless nights. He reminded her that people matter more than companies. He showed her the same kindness she once failed to show him. Months later, investigations proved Victoria innocent. The corrupt executives were arrested. The company survived. But Victoria made a surprising decision. She stepped away from daily leadership. She created a charitable foundation supporting widowed parents and struggling families. Nathan helped manage the programs. Together they visited hospitals, schools, and shelters. One spring afternoon, they returned to the same hospital where they first met. Rain was falling again. Nathan stood outside with Victoria beside him. She looked at him with tears in her eyes. Years earlier she had said, "I've got somewhere to be." Now she finally revealed the truth. She had been running toward death, grief, and regret. But life had been waiting beside a single father carrying his daughter through the rain. Before we finish this story, please leave a comment saying, "Kindness changes destinies," if you believe one small decision can change someone's entire life. Several months later, Nathan and Sophie visited Rachel's grave. Victoria came with them. Sophie held both their hands. Nathan realized that love sometimes returns in unexpected ways. It does not erase the past. It honors it while building something new. The billionaire who once drove away had finally found the place she truly needed to be. And the single father who had lost almost everything discovered that broken hearts can heal when kindness survives. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who needs hope today, subscribe to the channel, and tell us your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps these emotional stories reach people who may need them the most. Because sometimes the person who says, "I've got somewhere to be," is actually searching for the place they belong all along.